Welcome to Viridian Forest, the home of Kanto's only bug-type gym leader. His name is Flick. How did he become a bug-type gym leader? Now that's an interesting story. The two characters in our story is going to be Flick, the protagonist that falls in love with bug types, and CJ, his friend that wants to go on this adventure with him. When it's time to pick our starter, we're going to go with Bulbasaur. We're not going to have Bulbasaur on our team for that long. Mainly it's going to be used for cut until we get Paris. But the reason why I went with Bulbasaur is that way the rival picks Charmander. I feel like Charizard is going to be more of a challenge for us later on than any of the other starters. Early on, Flick came across Pokemon to add to his bug-type team. Once he made it to Viridian Forest, he caught a Caterpie, he caught a Weedle, and he also evolved that Weedle into Kakuna. After we continue training, Caterpie evolves into Metapod and then evolves into Butterfree. So now we've got two Pokemon on our team that's fully evolved already. That's because we also evolved Kakuna into Beedrill. And it's important that we train up our Pokemon so we can face Brock, the first gym leader. Here I decide I'm going to give my bug types an assist by setting up a Leech Seed and then bringing in Beedrill to just continuously smack down the Geodude. We do get poisoned, which is really nice. However, Brock always has his full heal ready to go. So it turns into a battle of attrition. We Poison Sting, the Geodude tries to go for a Defense Curl, and it's just back and forth. Luckily, the Leech Seed is helping give Beedrill the upper hand in this showdown. So eventually, after healing up Beedrill, Beedrill will win this one. So there goes Geodude. Next up is Onix, and I'm going to do a similar thing because Onix has really high defense, and I'm actually wanting Onix to just knock out Bulbasaur. So I'm using this as an opportunity to just, come on, just take Bulbasaur out. But it looks like he's just refusing to attack. So I decide that as he goes for Bide, I'm just going to hit him as many times so maybe Bulbasaur can get taken out with Bide. You can see it does nothing. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead, switch into Butterfree. Unfortunately, we lose some experience points towards Bulbasaur, but that's okay. There's not much we can do about that. It would have been nice to level up Butterfree to where it had confusion, but we're still able to finish off Brock. Once we reach Mount Moon, we are able to capture a third member for our team. We've used Paris before on our Grass-type Gym Leader Challenge, and now we're going to use it again for our Bug-type Gym Leader Challenge. Once we reach Cerulean City, it's time for us to face CJ once again. He's caught a few Pokemon, he wants to try them out, he wants to see how well our bugs handle his team. Butterfree is our lead. We're going to go ahead and get a Sleep Powder onto Pidgeotto, and we go for Confusion to get some nice damage. The good thing is that Gust is not a flying type move, so we're not weak to that. We use Abra here for free experience for Beedrill. However, Beedrill actually misses a few times, which is annoying, but we actually do take it out. Rattata comes out and just demolishes us. I'm going to send out Bulbasaur to kind of sacrifice it off so I can heal up Beedrill. And you can see it's doing quite a bit of damage. I'm just hoping that the Rattata knocks out Bulbasaur so we don't lose any much needed experience. But we can see that it's likely that it was just going to go down to its own poison. So yeah, I'm going to go into Paris, trying to salvage some of those experience points as Charmander comes out. I'm going to go ahead and let the Charmander take out Bulbasaur. Come on, just Ember this thing. I know you've got it at this point. But you're going to see Charmander just decides to let Bulbasaur do some damage. Bulbasaur goes down finally. So now Beedrill can come in, finish this thing off, get some experience. I'm hoping that we don't miss, and we miss the Fury attack, which is annoying. Butterfree comes out, finishes off the battle. By hour 6, we're ready to take on Misty. I really want to get Paris leveled up, so we're going to do the little switcheroo tactic. Send Paris out, and then switch into our main hitter, that being Butterfree. Butterfree takes out the Staryu pretty easily. But now, we're going to go back into Paris. I want to use Stun Spore on Starmie because it's fast and it can hit really hard. and I'm going to go into Beedrill to knock this thing out. However, it's not quite enough, and Starmie knocks out Beedrill. We go into Butterfree this time, and I'm not really using Confusion because Starmie can take those hits, and I'm hoping that we can knock it out, and we finally do knock this thing out. You know, this battle kind of reminds me of Ash's battle against Misty. Pretty interesting. The next time we face our rival is going to be on the SS Anne. So let's see how well our team handles this now. Butterfree is going to be my lead. It's my best option, really, when trying to do a lot of damage on my opponent's team. We're going to get some nice damage there. And now we're going to go into Beedrill for the Eradicate. I'm going to just skip Learning Rage. It's a terrible move. We're going to go into Paris here, because I'm hoping that Paris can actually get a knockout here. And Paris does. It does knock out the Kadabra, which is really nice. But now we're going to face the Charmeleon, and this thing is actually pretty scary because it can actually do quite a bit of damage. I'm hoping that my bugs can actually hold their own. Looks like Beedrill, even though taking a lot of damage, it did a lot of damage in return. And Butterfree is going to come out and actually be able to finish this battle. After receiving the cut HM, I decide it's time to take on Lieutenant Surge, and I've got a secret weapon for this battle. My Paris now has the move Dig, and you can see he's just ripping and tearing Surge's electric-type Pokemon, and even a Thunderbolt from Raichu isn't enough. And defeating Lieutenant Surge was such a great victory that Paris is now evolving into Parasect. By hour 11, it's time for our first fight with Giovanni, and I should have actually healed up before this battle. I was hoping that we wouldn't have that much trouble. So Parasect, after Beedrill gets knocked out, is my only Pokemon. A Dig helps us with the Onix. I go and dig for the Rhyhorn, and it actually takes 2 digs on it. Parasect, though, is looking pretty strong at this point. The Kangaskhan goes for Rage, which is a terrible move. It's really low power. It does raise your attack, but such low power it doesn't matter, and we just dig this thing into oblivion. As soon as we gain the Silph Scope, we make our way back into Lavender Tower, where we see CJ wanting to battle us once again. This time we're going to lead off with our Beedrill, and we just Fury Attack this thing. Luckily, Gust is not a flying type move, so Beedrill isn't too worried here, and we do knock out the Pidgeotto. Execute comes out, and we completely knock that thing out with a Twin Needle. Now, Gyarados is an issue because it can actually take some of our hits. So I'm going to go into Parasect and go for Cut on this thing. We do miss a Cut, which is actually pretty annoying, but we do end up knocking it out with Parasect. And we learn Spore thanks to our efforts. Next up is Kadabra, and I go into Beedrill again because Twin Needle is super effective. Charmeleon is out last, and this thing is pretty scary. I'm going to get hit with an Ember, lose Beedrill, and now Butterfree comes out to fight this Charmeleon. We put it to sleep so that way Confusion can do its job, and it actually does. Now that we have access to the Safari Zone, there's 2 Pokemon that I want to add to our team, and debatably, these 2 Pokemon are going to probably end up being our MVP going forward. The first one we're able to catch is Venonat. Now, Venonat evolves into Venomoth. Venomoth is the best special attacking bug-type Pokemon in Generation 1. We're going to teach Psychic to Venomoth, and it's going to cut through so many things. The second Pokemon actually takes a little bit longer for us to find and catch. Now, this is going to be the best physical attacking bug type in Generation 1, and that is Pinsir. Arguably, I would argue this is the best bug type in Generation 1. Now that we've got some hard-hitting Pokemon on our team, we're going to take on Koga. Venonat goes for Psychic, and it actually doesn't do that much. It's kind of too low of a level. So I'm going to go into Butterfree to finish off the Coughing. Muck comes out, and I'm going to do a switcheroo tactic here. Butterfree gets hit with a nasty Sludge, unfortunately, and we lose it there. Parasect is not going to survive Sludge. I actually shouldn't have went into Parasect. I was hoping that maybe we could be able to hit this thing. I go into Beedrill. I'm going for Twin Needle because in Generation 1, Bug is good against Poison, and it's weird because Poison's also good against Bug. So a weird type dynamic. But Beedrill is able to finish off the Muck. Next up is Coughing, and I'm going to go into Pinsir to give it some experience as we go into Beedrill and miss some very important Twin Needles. Luckily, we do hit the next round of Twin Needles, and we knock out Coughing, which is great. Last up is Wheezing, and we're going to do a switcheroo tactic. The main reason why I did a switcheroo tactic is because Wheezing often goes for self-destruct. After training a little bit more, our Venonat evolves into Venomoth. This thing has really great special. Technically, it's like the replacement for Butterfree, even though we're still going to have Butterfree on our team. It gives us a hard-hitting Pokemon. In Saffron City, I decide we're going to go ahead and take on the rival. Now, the problem here is that Pidgeot has Wing Attack. I go for Disable, hoping to disable that Wing Attack. However, Whirlwind is what's disabled, which is not great, and we lose Venomoth. Pinsir comes out, go for a Swords Dance, and we two-shot the Pidgeot. Execute comes out, and then it's able to poison us, which is unfortunate. Gyarados comes out, and it looks like we were able to take it out, but Pinsir still is not doing very good. I decide not to learn Guillotine. We're going to be disabled, but luckily we break through the disable right off the bat. So now Charizard comes out, and I'm actually nervous about this thing because it can actually do a lot of damage. You can see it burnt Beedrill. It's got Ember, so it's just cutting through our bugs like nothing. And I decided I want to try to Sleep Powder it, but we end up missing the Sleep Powder, which is not great. And Parasect's not living anything that Charizard does. So yeah, we lose to our rival. And it's while we're training up for the rival battle that I realize, hey, I actually skipped Erica's gym. This would be easy experience for my bug types. So I go back, and I'm going to try to get experience onto Pinsir because I feel like it's going to be my win condition through a lot of battles. So we get some Swords Dance, and we just demolish the Victory Bell, demolish the Tangela. Vileplume actually takes a hit, but she goes for Mega Drain, which is garbage against my bug types. Yeah, she can't really do much against Pinsir. And it's not just the rival that we're having issues with. The first trainer in Blaine's gym also is giving us some trouble. You see, Blaine uses Fire type, of course, and my bugs struggle with facing Fire type. We got demolished by a Charizard. When we're going into Blaine's gym, some of his trainers have Flamethrower on their Pokemon, which makes it that much tougher. So, yeah, we're not even ready to take on the first trainer in Blaine's gym. So, that being said, we have a lot of training to do until we're ready to take on not just our rival, but Blaine's well. Now, I decide to battle the Fighting type dojo. Now, usually I skip this place, but we really need the experience. We're kind of in a position where we're stuck, so I decide we're going to go ahead and get as much experience as we can. Now, I do want to show you the battle we have with the Fighting Dojo Master. I'm going to use Pinsir because I want those attack DVs and I want some experience. We get Swords Dance and just one shot to Hitmonlee. It takes 2 hits on the Hitmonchan, but we're able to do so. After grinding up my Pokemon up to higher levels, I decide it's time to go back to Silphco to face the rival again. We're going to lead off with Venomoth, and Venomoth barely takes out the Pidgeot, almost being taken out by its Wing Attack. Next up, we're going to see Execute come out, and Beedrill has already proven that Twin Needle is really good against taking that thing out. Next up is Gyarados, and I decide I'm going to use Gyarados as an opportunity to set up. I'm going to get Pinsir out here so I can go for a Swords Dance, and I actually go for 2 Swords Dance, hoping that it's going to be enough to finish the thing off. It isn't enough, but I'm able to get another one because we have it paralyzed. Now, Body Slam destroys Alakazam, and now here's the thing I'm most afraid of, but Body Slam finishes off the Charizard easily. After all that grinding, now we take on Giovanni. Venomoth goes for a well-placed Psychic, destroying Nidorino. Kangaskhan comes out, and Psychic two-shots the Kangaskhan. Rhyhorn comes out, and I actually switch into Butterfree because I want to give Butterfree a chance to show off its new move. I put Rhyhorn to sleep, and then Solar Beam that thing into Oblivion. Nidoqueen comes out, and hey, I've got Psychic on this thing, so it ends up taking 2 Psychics, but we're still doing well. Oh yeah, here's another piece of trivia. Did you know you can dig out of the Silphco building? Here I am standing right in front of the CEO so he can watch me tear up his nicely tiled flooring. And now we make our way to Sabrina. I'm going to lead off with Beedrill, but of course Kadabra's fast. I was hoping maybe Beedrill could outspeed, but of course it's not going to work out. Going to Pinsir, and we almost get destroyed by that Kadabra, which is not good. But we're able to Body Slam that and the Mr. Mime. Our opponent's Venomoth goes down just as well, and she wastes a turn going for Recover. Interesting choice, Sabrina. And as a test to see if we're ready to take on Blaine, I go ahead and face that first trainer once again. This time I'm going to go for Swords Dance. Hope that we don't get burned. We Body Slam the Growlithe into Oblivion. Vulpix, no chance. Ninetales, no chance. Pinsir is ready. And the thing is, Blaine is going to be one of our biggest challenges when it comes to gym leaders in this challenge. He's going to lead off with Growlithe. I go ahead and do the Pinsir tactics, setting up Swords Dance, Body Slamming everything that I can. And as you can see, Body Slam does so well. He wastes a turn to go for Super Potion, but that works out for us because we don't have to worry about a Fire Blast from Arcanine. Now we face Giovanni for the last time. We have Mega Drain on Venomoth. It gives really nice coverage against rock types, and it helps us out here against all of his ground types. So we destroy Rhyhorn and Dugtrio with that. Next up is Nidoqueen, and it ends up taking 2 Psychics to knock that out. Psychic really strong on Venomoth. Next up is Nidoking, and Nidoking has less bulk than Nidoqueen, so it just takes 2 hits. And his last Pokemon is Rhydon. Now, I want to give Butterfree another shot with Solar Beam, and it's just 1 shot. Now it's time to face the rival once again. This could be a sign of how challenging it would be for us in the actual champion battle. We're going to have our Venomoth out here and 2-shot the Pidgeot. That could have went a lot worse. We're going to get a little bit of health back with Mega Drain, which is going to help us out. Execute here, we've already seen that Beedrill does well against it, but you can see Twin Needle not doing as much. I actually wanted to test out Pin Missile here, but we actually missed, which is annoying. And I go for Agility because that thing was boosting up for a Solar Beam. Gyarados comes out, I go for Takedown to see how much that does, and it does hardly anything. Takedown is terrible on Beedrill. I'm going to go into Pinsir, get a Swords Dance in, so that way I can get some knockouts later on, but you can see, even with Swords Dance, it's not enough to finish off the Gyarados. Makes me kind of nervous. Pinsir goes ahead and Body Slams the Alakazam, and then Charizard comes out. Luckily, we do get a Paralysis on this thing, and we really do kind of need it, because we're going to be able to chip away at this Charizard now that it's paralyzed and it's slowed down. But you can see that it's still almost able to finish us off on its own. So we can see that Charizard's going to be the ultimate challenge for us. First member of the Elite Four is Lorelei, and I'm going to lead off with Beedrill, and you can see that does hardly anything to Dugong. Dugong just has way too much bulk, and of course, because of AI mechanics in Generation 1, it's going to be locked into rest. Now that would be good if we were able to actually do some damage. I'm going to go into Butterfree, but unfortunately doesn't work out. I'm going to wait for this thing to go to sleep so I can set up Swords Dance. It seems to be that's going to be our best way forward. We get crit by the Aurora Beam, and that's really not good. I'm going to go into Venomoth because Cloyster has terrible special defense, and I'm hoping to take advantage of that. We're going to take almost 2 Mega Drains, but it's not quite enough. It's going to take 3 though, and after it heals itself up, we're able to take on the Cloyster. Next up is Slowbro, And I'm going to try to lower its special, but you can see that it actually goes for Amnesia, and that's not good. And another thing that makes it not good is that our Leech Life is doing hardly anything, but I think, you know, we're just going to keep with that. I will switch into Beedrill, maybe get a Poison, and we end up pin missiling this thing into Oblivion. Next up is Jinx. Now, Jinx we've used in the Ice-type challenge and the Psychic-type challenge. It's a really great Pokemon. It destroys our Beedrill. It one-shots our Parasect. And Pinsir comes out. It's going to outspeed Pinsir. Venomoth comes out, and I'm hoping that we can knock it out. Luckily, it doesn't seem to have a Psychic-type option. I feel like it would have went for it, but we're able to take it out with a few Leash Lives. Next up is Lapras, and I go for Mega Drain on this Lapras, and it ends up winning out this battle of attrition. After grinding up my levels, especially on Pinsir, like I said, I kind of sensed that Pinsir was going to be my win condition. I'm going to come in, and this time I'm going to have a strategy. I'm going to lead off with Beedrill with the hopes that she goes for Rest. However, I guess the AI takes into account the Pokemon you're switching into when making a decision. I guess that's how it works, because instead of going for Rest, she just goes for Aurora Beam, which is not good, and Growl, which is annoying. I'm going to heal up Pinsir now, because I'm going to focus on getting these Swords Dance. She's going to Growl, which is going to undo some of my Swords Dance, and that's fine, because now I'm ready to do some damage. Strength 2 shots. The Dugong Cloyster comes out, and we're going to take 2 shots from Strength again. Slowbro comes out, and this time I'm going to Body Slam, which is going to be a one-shot. Jinx goes down to 1 Body Slam, and that leaves the Lapras. Lapras goes down to a Body Slam, so easy victory after we grind. Next up is Bruno. Now, Bruno is the Fighting type Elite Four member. You would think, oh, there might be challenge here. Let me tell you, he stands no chance. Even against my Bug types. We one-shot the Onix, and the Hitmonchan, and the Hitmonlee. They all go down to a one-shot. We've already one-shot Onix, so yeah, it's not sticking around. And that just leaves the Machamp. Now, Bug resists fighting, which is actually interesting. You wouldn't think that's the case, but it actually does. And we just two-hit the Machamp. Easy knockout. Next up is Agatha. Now, Agatha is a pretty interesting Pokemon trainer. She uses Ghost type, but in parentheses you can put Poison. Now the thing is, Poison is good against Bug. So we're actually in a bad situation here. She puts our 2 lead Pokemon asleep. I actually go ahead and heal up my Venomoth because, hey, it's not fair how easily she seems to hit these Hypnosis. So I'm going to wake up Venomoth. I want to hit Psychic on the Golbat that she switches in. And we knock that out. 1 threat taken care of. Psychic is going to finish off the Gengar. The good thing is that her Gengar and Haunter don't seem to know any Poison-type moves, which is an issue. They do have Dream Eater, which can be quite scary. Arbok, however, it's going to be a different story. It has Acid, which can hit my Mon super effective. So I'm going to go into Venomoth because it's neutral to Poison. So I'm going to Psychic it into Oblivion, and that leaves her Gengar. And I'm also out of Psychic, which is not good at all. So I'm going to go for Leech Life a few times. I'm going to rest up. I think if it comes down to it, I should have the advantage. And I'm going to just use an Ether, and I'm going to heal up Venomoth because I really do need Psychic for this, or else it'll turn into a battle of attrition. We see that Dream Eater was on this thing, which could have backfired when I used Rest. Rest might not actually be the best option because Dream Eater exists out there. Next up is Lance. Now, Lance is the Dragon type Elite Four trainer, but he also has Flying type as another commonality. He's going to lead off with Gyarados. Now, the thing is, I've been using Gyarados as a setup mon, so I put it to sleep with Spore, and then I switch into Pinsir to get some Swords Dance in, and we Body Slam it to knock it out. Next up is Dragonair. It takes 2 hits, but that's because the first time we got a crit in Generation 1, if you crit, it negates your stat boost, which is unfortunate. Now you can see there, it would have been a one-shot. Aerodactyl comes out, smacks us with a Hyper Beam, which is actually very scary. Luckily, it doesn't knock us out, so it gives us a free Body Slam the next turn. And I go into Venomoth. I actually meant to go into Beedrill. I was thinking of Venomoth, the ATV Dragonite killer from Twitch Plays Pokemon, but Beedrill is actually the Pokemon I want to go in to face this thing. And that's because it has Toxic. And because of AI in Generation 1, it's only looking at typing when it picks a move. So it's only picking Agility because it's a Psychic type move, and it's thinking, hey, it's going to be super effective, even though it doesn't do anything to Beedrill. And Beedrill gets a free knockout on Dragonite. Now it's time to face off with our rival CJ. I'm going to lead it off with Pidgeot. I'm going to try to set up with Pinsir when CJ actually uses Mirror Move for the first time that actually makes sense. He gets a Swords Dance and a Body Slam. Wow, I've never seen that move actually used effectively. But now I've lost Pinsir, and Alakazam is out here. I'm going to go ahead and put it to sleep and hope that Parasect has what it takes to take this thing out. You can see it's not quite doing enough, and it's setting up Recover whenever it wants. So it's going to be a battle of attrition against Alakazam here. And I'm hoping that this thing will stay asleep long enough that we can knock it out. But I'm going to switch, and it's going to outspeed my Beedrill and knock it out with a Side Beam. I'm going to go back into Parasect, and I guess our rival has decided not to play that game anymore. He's going to Psychic to knock out Parasect, knock out Butterfree, and Venomoth comes out, and he actually goes for a Reflect, and it ends up preventing us from doing as much damage as we can, and then the Psychic will be enough to knock us out. We're going to have to train up a little bit. After grinding up my Pokemon, I come back and I'm going to try this again. I go for Swords Dance, as this time he goes for Sky Attack, just trying to knock out my Pinsir in one go. Luckily though, we're not going to get knocked out, and we see that he goes for Mirror Move on my Swords Dance, but luckily we knock out that Pidgeot. It could have went a lot worse than it did. Alakazam goes down to one Body Slam from Pinsir. Rhydon comes out, and I'm going to do my tactic, put this thing to sleep, and then Solar Beam it into oblivion. Butterfree is my Rock Ground type killer. Next up is Executor. Now, Beedrill normally is my answer for these kind of Pokemon, but at this point he's got enough bulk that he can actually take hits, and he's going to keep hitting me with Hypnosis. And that's unfortunate, because Beedrill is really my main go-to against this guy. He's going to go ahead and just keep my Beedrill asleep. Annoying. I'm just throwing full heals at this thing at this point, because how many Hypnoses can you hit? He ends up stalling himself out, though, which is fine by me. Gyarados comes out. I'm going to do my Gyarados tactic, put this thing to sleep, and then set up. Hyper Beam kills Parasect, though, which is unfortunate. And in Generation 1, he doesn't have to recharge. I'm going to go ahead and Sleep Powder and then go into Pinsir. I'm able to do my tactic, even though it's not Parasect putting this to sleep. It's going to be Butterfree. And I get my Swords Dance in. I really do need this Swords Dance because Charizard is sitting back there nervous about that thing. I need to be completely or mostly healed up for that challenge. Last up is Charizard, and I Body Slam this. I'm actually surprised that we one-shot it. I thought it'd be a lot tougher for us against that Charizard. And with that, Flick has defeated his rival, defeated the Elite Four and the other gym leaders. It's time for us to look at the team that brought Flick here. Now, I do have to say that I was right in thinking that the Bug type would not be as good of a time as the Ice type challenge, because the Ice type are usually stronger. Of course, Articuno and Jinx really held that team together. Here, it's relying on Venomoth and Pinsir, and those two don't really have any good Bug type stab. I think Beedrill is the only one that gets Twin Needle, which is the most, I would call, decent Bug type move in Generation 1. Not really any great Generation 1 Bug type moves. But Flick was able to overcome that challenge. He has captured some of the best Bug types across Kanto, and now it's time for him to retire in Viridian Forest, where he will serve as the Bug type gym leader.